So to start, what do you think? What do you think's like holding you back from improving? If you
Um,
have any idea.
recently, recently I've been like feeding a lot, like just dying more than necessary, and which goes to like when you play like Axe or something, your goal is just to dive in there and kill people. I kind of
Yeah.
have that intuition because I played like 2 years of League of Legends, which like makes you do that. Like that's all you do in
Gotcha.
League. You just jump in and use all your spell.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have the bad habits from that, but
Gotcha.
that's something I need to work on. And
Um.
and just over the past couple games I've been playing, I just as a carry, I don't know if I should go help the fight out or just keep farming because
Gotcha. Um. So the first thing that I want to point out is so you're probably gonna be laning against an axe. They actually have like a weird lineup. So
yeah,
like you could be kind of laning against anything. And what I'm gonna recommend is I'd rather have you have a salve rather than having this branch because unless you were intending to go wand, which wouldn't be too bad. It's a really good sustain item right now. Um,
yeah.
so if you'd probably either want to start salve or if you intend to go wand, um, getting another branch, getting a mango instead of this quelling blade, and then usually you get 80 gold at the start, and then you can get your quelling blade at the side shop, and that just makes
Right.
you a lot stronger, a lot quicker, and you don't have to use the courier, which helps out your team some.
In situations like this, it's good to be just still farming rather than like trying to
Yeah,
help fight the axe.
it's not your fuck. Okay. Dota since Dota Plus came out, it's been like weird. Um, and shit crashes if I press back, I guess. Um, but what I was gonna say is, I don't like that you attacked him so much when he comes up to a creep, because what that's going to do,
Right, proc is counter healing.
well, it's also one sec. It's also the creeps are going to aggro onto you. It
Right.
wasn't a big deal because they aggroed onto the witch doctor first, so it's kind of like you made a mistake, but it didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
what?
actually something I've been doing like a lot or the past like 40 games I like more so realized about the aggro thing and
Yeah,
that
because
like
their
range
creeps are going
creep
to be
will attack.
attacking you
Right.
instead
Yeah.
of your creeps, and that's going to cause the lane to push. And you
Right.
might be able to get 50 damage on them or whatever, but if that snowballs into the creep wave ending up at his tower, he'd much rather have that um,
Right.
in 2 minutes if that means he loses like 50 to 100 health right now.
Mhm.
Uh, hopefully this isn't too annoying.
Trying to think of other things. A lot of, especially when I play carry, I'm not good at, like, I feel like I'm pretty good at, like, the early mid game, but when I get to late game and I just feel like the whole game changes and I don't, like, play as good as,
Yeah, it turns into a different game because it goes from like
right,
getting the most stuff possible with it like there's not a lot of risk in the early game as a carry, but in the
yeah,
late game if you die as a carry, you can just lose the game.
right,
Um,
exactly.
so like
I think it
here,
results from a lot of times, like, not knowing when to go in there.
yeah, like here if you attacked him and the witch doctor didn't, and like right now also you're auto attacking down creeps, which is going to end up at I think it's the next creep wave. Your range creep isn't gonna die off, and theirs is. So you're gonna have 2 creeps.
Okay.
And now, because this guy's above half, because you auto attack down so much, and you guys pulled the creeps away, now you're stuck with 2 range creeps, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's going to cause the creep wave to push under their tower, which gives you less space to zone this guy out. Like, if the creep wave's right here, your supports can't do shit, because he's basically under the tower the whole time.
Right, exactly.
But with the creep wave right here, you have all of this space for your supports to zone him out.
Right.
And then the opposite is true, where the closer you are to his tower, the more likely you are to like get ganked, and the more dangerous it is for you.
Yeah, I have that concept down. Like, maybe I don't execute it perfectly every time, but I like definitely know how important that is.
Gotcha.
And yeah, in general, I don't try to auto attack creeps. Sometimes I just do it if I'm bored, honestly.
Yeah.
Or if I just like, or if I want it to die before he comes up and tries to deny it, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, like,
it's one of those things where you're gonna do it enough, and you're going to get sick of the lane being pushed and this guy getting more than he should, and then it'll stick better. And part of it is realizing that, like, literally, there were, like, a few mistakes that you made, like the auto-attacking down and the attacking the axe. If you hadn't made either of those, the creep wave wouldn't have ever, like, went up to his tower. And it's just, like, it can be that small, and then given some time, it will definitely compound. And, like, when you like get higher up, your supports are going to be better, and they're going to be able to better use this space to zone this guy out.
Yeah, I play supports more like maybe like 60% of my games, 80. I play supports a lot more, so like I always know like they should be pulling and stacking for me when they're not. But
yeah.
they're doing okay.
And do you know that you can fill this up with more items? If you control shift click, you can fill this up too.
I never actually do. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good habit to get into. Because like there's 3 main reasons for it. The first of which is if you die, and you buy out. Like right now, if you died, you'd be able to buy out your glove of haste. But if you had like also like wand behind it, you'd be able to buy out like your mango or a branch or whatever, and then your death cost would go down either 50 or 100 depending on which you get. So you'd only lose 43 gold, or you'd lose nothing instead of losing 93. And I looked at one of my games that I played as Carrie Slark a while ago, and I think I died like 4 or 5 times without buying out, and it compounded to like including things like if I had treads there, I would have killed the guy. I ended up having like 2,000 less gold at the end of the game that I would have had if I just pressed buyout 5 times at that in that game. So it's not.
Do you have a hotkey for it, or do you just right click it?
I have it on my mouse. I have 12 hotkeys on the side of my mouse, so it's kind of like it's most people don't have that, so I don't really like go into that too much, but it's just whatever key that you feel comfortable on.
I think mine's on like F3 or something, but like I don't actually use it that much. I only use like hotkeys for courier and
I have like 4 of them right on my thumb.
Yeah, that's
and
a good idea.
One of them's buyout. The other one's like bring me my shit off the courier, and another one's like speed boost or something. Or it used to be speed boost. It's the shield or whatever.
Shield.
And then like I have 1 through 6 as like macro groups, but that's not that big of a deal. But yeah, so there's that, and then also it makes you it's more helpful for mid, but it lets you buy shit quicker. So like for safe lane, it's like being able to get your quelling blade between last hits if you have it in here. But
see.
if you don't, you can't get it in time because then you'll have to go there, open it, find it, and then buy it. Whereas if you just run over there, click it, and then run back. It's more for the mid lane though because, like let's say this tiny has like treads, bottle, and wand. So those take up 6 slots, and then he just throws like a salve and a clarity on the end of it to take up the 7th and 8th slot.
Yeah.
If he's like going for last hits and he knows that he's gonna need a salve in like 20 seconds, he can buy it while he's last hitting creeps and fly it out instead of having to wait until he finishes last hitting and then run back by the salve and bring it out. And that can save you like 10 or 15 seconds, which could be amount of time where you get the full heal off before you get ganked or hooked or whatever.
Right.
And then the last reason, which I think is the most important, is when you start doing that, you can start predicting what your lane is going to look like and build accordingly. So it's more of a off-lane thing, but it applies to most everything. And the example that I use that's the like most obvious is, let's say you're playing an off-laner like Dragonite works. And they have a carry Juggernaut, and then they have support Kunkka and Shadow Shaman. And what's going to happen in that lane is you're either going to get sheeped, shackled, X'd, or torned, and you're going to be followed up with everything else, and Juggernaut's going to spin on you. So in that situation, it's like Stout Shield's not really going to do that much. But if you go for boots first, they might not be able to ever catch you, and then like that's your win condition for the lane.
It's one of the few times you go boots, right? Like when you're versus Juggernaut or something.
Yeah. And then you can apply that to the safe lane like a little bit less, but it's still like enough. Maybe you want to, let's say you're going Aquila and Treads and Wand, you might get them in an order that you wouldn't have before, but for some reason that's better. Like if you go your Wand after your Aquila because you don't think he's going to start doing steady harass until like 6 or 7 minutes in, and you want the mana regen so you can like cast spells more. And if you do something like that, it's not that big of a deal, but it could be enough that it pushes you over and lets you win the lane. And then also when you get in the habit of that, instead of just like following a guide, it puts you in a position where you make a prediction and you're either right or wrong. And if you're right, then it helps you out a bunch. But if you're wrong, you at least put yourself in a position where you can learn from it. But if you don't ever like take the action and make the prediction, you can't really be wrong because you're not really doing anything. Yeah, I think the main thing is you're auto-attacking down creeps too much.
Okay. I mean, I can do that for my own creeps, right? Like to deny them?
Yeah, if they're below half, you can attack your own.
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter if I auto-attack creep for that. Well, it's all about lane equilibrium anyways, right?
Yeah,
So.
you want it slightly pushing into you. Because if it's always slightly pushing into you, it's very easy to fix. Whereas, and if you like do something aggressive, like you have to right-click Thax in the lane to get a kill or something. If you do pull the creeps onto you while it's slightly pushing into you, it's not going to do enough damage to make it completely pushing into them. Whereas if it's an exactly equal equilibrium, if you right click him, that will be enough to push it over the edge. So if you can always have it slightly pushing into you, that's the most ideal.
What about like pushing the tower? Like, when is that a better priority in the beginning?
It's not. It has to do with a lot of different things.
Right.
So it's kind of like, what is your regeneration like? What is your farm speed like? What happens? It's basically what happens if you actually take the tower, and
Right.
how much are you going to feed the offlaner by doing it?
Uh-huh.
So if you're not much stronger than the offlaner and you try and do this shit, all you're going to be doing is giving him free creeps under his own tower. But if you're completely destroying him and you have a support there and you're so ahead that if he shows up for the creeps, you just kill him, then getting this early tower, it makes it so you can like push out a wave here and then a wave here and then go jungle, and then come back and it'll be like a wave and a half, like by the time it gets to here, and it gives your whole team like some extra gold. It lets you ward more aggressively, which is like this ward is really good while this tower's up, but this one's better when it's only this tower up because it also sees like this path and everything. So it opens up more of the map to you a little bit, and it gives you a little bit better wards, but it's not like a huge deal because this tower is pretty much free almost every game, because it's the offlane tower. And then also when you take this tower, if you're strong enough, you can take this, push it out, and then TP here, and then push out this one at like 8 to like 14 minutes or whatever, depending on your hero and their hero.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I guess the simplest way to look at it is, am I just going to be feeding the enemy offlaner creeps if I do it? Like, this is good.
But the axe wasn't being like aggressive at all, so I was like...
Yeah, you see the axe go back, and you push the tower while he's gone, which not only does that give you tower damage, but the tower will be killing your creeps off quicker than like not having the tower there, which means that you deny. I think it's a league thing too, where if you kill the enemy carry, when you push in the lane, the creeps die under the tower before he comes back, so he misses out on more creeps if you shove it into their tower. So that's kind of what you did there, which was good. And then you guys kill him when he came back, which is even better, because if the creeps are already under the tower when he's dead, or when he dies, then you don't have to... Like, if you kill him right now, you have to push this up and then do it. Whereas if he's there under the tower and your creeps are under the tower when he dies, it's already there. But yeah, I don't think going for this tower is like super important early. It's kind of like, if you can get it for free, then go for it, but don't put yourself in any risk to do it.
Let's see.
And don't give him, like, if you completely zone out the offlaner, like, let's say you guys shut this guy down hard and he's like level 3 right now. If you just keep the creep wave right here and you like have this warded, or your support's playing it correctly or whatever, the axe won't be able to get shit from the lane. Whereas if he's level 3 and you're shoving it into his tower, he might be able to like throw out a battle hunger and aggro the creeps to chase him back to his tier 2. And then he'll get free farm in a lane that he shouldn't even be able to show up to. And then this rotation, hopefully this shit doesn't crash.
Got a Mr. Chrono there, and I got it. Oh yeah, I actually chronoed someone when Pudge was on rot, so I fucked that up.
One of the things that I want you to start considering is you destroyed this lane, right? Like, if you stay here, this guy can't lane very well. So when you leave a lane that you're ahead in, when you come back to the lane, you're oftentimes not going to be as ahead, because you're leaving the lane and you're giving this guy free farm to catch up while you're going to do other things. So if you might think that this gank is like good or bad or about even if you're not considering that the axe is going to be getting free farm from the creep wave the whole time that you're gone, where he should like not be getting very much, if anything, out of the creep wave.
Okay.
And then also when you get your Mask of Madness, you're a lot stronger. So it's like if you stayed for another creep wave and then tried to go for a fight, you'd be about twice as strong with that the Mask of Madness active, and you'd have your last point in this.
Yeah, I think I tend to prioritize kills a lot more, which that's why just recently I've been like questioning whether I should go fight or should I just stay in this lane all game and get free farm and then be a monster at the end. It all depends.
The easiest trend that I can tell you is kind of like most carries don't like really leave their lane to go like do other stuff until like 15 minutes.
Right. Okay. That's a kind of a nice rule, I guess.
Yeah. It's I don't like giving out rules like that, but that's like a good thing to kind of know.
Right. Unless it's like an obvious, like I could TP top and get like 3 kills or something.
Yeah, some shit like that. And some heroes are more important to kill than others. Like killing their Pudge and their Mirana won't do shit. But if you can kill their Slark and their Luna, it might delay the Luna more than...
yeah, that was our main problem actually at the end. Slark and Luna just became fat and just killed the soul, so...
Yeah, and part of that is because you're doing well in lane, and then you're going out and having non-profitable engagements. So it's not so much... Yeah, it's not so much that the Luna and the Slark are going to get ahead, which is something that I didn't ever really notice, but I guess I just made a shift where it's never that the enemies got big, it's that I fucked up and got small.
I see.
Like I kind of, most of the time I've stopped thinking in terms of this hero's gonna get big. Or the problem was their Luna. It was more of like if I were, let's say I played this game and I was going over my own replay, I wouldn't be like the Luna and the Slark got big. I'd be like, okay, I died twice early when I was ahead in lane, and I'm going for a farming item. So not only did I die and delay my farming item 3 or 4 minutes, by delaying this item, I'm delaying my next item by 5 or 6 minutes. And so when I'm fighting this Luna, I should actually have like 6 more minutes of farm when I'm fighting her. And I don't really...
That's a good thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't... that just kind of like happened. I never was really like conscious of it. I just kind of like... I remember when I first started playing, or like not even first started playing, probably my first like 6,000 hours of playing, a lot of it was, oh, this hero got big or whatever, or somebody fed this hero or whatever, and it's kind of like, no, you're just like, you messed up, or like I messed up or whatever.
I see. Yeah, I just read one of those like one of a famous guide that was kind of talking about that, how less blame on others and everything else, more focus on yourself, what you did wrong.
Oh yeah, there was a book that I read. It was called Extreme Ownership, and it's basically the short of it is, if you take blame for everything, you gain freedom from that. If you blame everything on everyone else, it's like never your fault, and you don't have any room to learn from anything.
Right.
Whereas if you like take blame for everything, then it's like, okay, well, at least now I can do something about it. Like there's an example I heard, and it was something like, if my wife got hit by a meteor tomorrow, I wouldn't be like, woe is me, the fucking meteor killed my wife. I'd be like, I should have invested more in like spatial defense or some shit like that. Because if you do that, of course it's not your fucking fault the meteor killed your wife, but if you make yourself think that it was your fault, then you can start like doing something about it instead of like letting it like I guess consume your life. But that's more of like if your wife dies rather than playing some Dota. But yeah, you would have had your Battle Fury like 3 or 4 minutes ago. And Battle Fury like doubles your farm speed, so you're 3 or 4 minutes behind, but that's gonna end up being like 6 or 8 minutes behind. Also, you should be trying to get that like the second that you get the gold for it. The Battle Fury.
I see.
And when you go for a Battle Fury, you don't really want to fight.
That?
Unless, yeah, I'm not too concerned with the mechanics because that's just kind of like, you know that you messed up your chrono.
Right. And I've only played them like twice. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I just wasn't experienced enough yet.
What was I saying? When you get your Battle Fury, it's an item that you get to get your next item quicker. It's not an item that you get and you want to go out of your way to fight with it.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So you went like a farming build and then you played it like it was a fighting build.
I see, yeah.
It's not that your playstyle is wrong, it's that you're going the wrong build to do what you're doing. Like, I would have rather seen you go, like, Diffusal Blade and Manta if you're trying to play this style.
Right.
You have your gold for your Yasha, you should be buying that.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like I was trying to go for a different item.
The Yasha speeds up your farm speed a lot more than the ultimate orb, because it gives you the 8 movement speed. It gives you a total of 16 more attack speed, and 6 more damage.
Yeah, I just think I probably just liked being tankier. I usually do that in other heroes because I just like being tankier. But
Gotcha.
Yasha's probably better.
It depends. Sometimes ultimate orb's better, but I think most of the time, you want to go for the Yasha.
Mm-hmm. I always like buying secret shop items first. I don't have to worry about that too.
One thing that I don't know if you're like doing it on accident or purpose, but you want your treads to be on strength when you're taking fights.
Yeah, I think that was probably an accident. I mean, I'm about like 50-50 on like boots, like, you know, using it for mana versus what your natural ability is.
It's basically right now if you're on strength treads, you have like 16% more max health.
Okay.
Because it gives you 200 health. So it's around.
What does it give me again? So it's attack speed.
It gives you 200 health, or it gives you 10 damage and 10 attack speed, and like 1.5 armor. And then for intelligence, it gives you like 120 mana. So the general rule of thumb is usually like if you're Faceless Void is a little bit different. With your chrono letting you like whack on somebody for free for like 5 seconds. But in general, a hero that has 10 more strength will end up doing more than a hero with 10 more agility, because if we used Luna as an example, because she's like I guess more general in her treads. Right now she's gaining 200 health from her strength treads, which gives her about 13% or whatever more health. Whereas if she was on agility, she'd only be gaining like probably like 5 or 6% more uh, DPS. So she's going to be staying alive longer to do more damage with her right clicks, and then that's just kind of like
that's interesting.
that's even before you consider her spell usage too. If she's able to throw out a third Lucent Beam instead of a second one, she's doing the 15% more damage because she's alive longer, plus 300 more nuke. Or if she pops her ult and she gets off all of it instead of half of it with her strength treads, then basically in general you're gonna do a lot more of your strength treads than of your agility treads.
I think I was only thinking about to switch it to strength if I'm like in a fight and I'm about to die. That's more so the only thing I think about.
It's more of the opposite of that, where the only time you want to be agility is if you know that they can't kill you.
I see.
And that's kind of like, you can have it on agility when you're like whacking somebody in Chrono and you're not getting attacked, but Faceless Void is like also especially better to be on strength treads, because let's say they dismember you and they call you, and you're on agility treads and you just die. But if you're on strength treads, you live, and then you can time walk, and then your 200 health that you barely survived with all of a sudden is like 800 health.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's usually you want to be on strength treads when you're fighting. Int treads if you're good enough with it, and you usually want to only be doing it for like bigger spells. Like with Faceless Void, I wouldn't really worry too much about these two, but you would want to be on int treads when you're popping Chronosphere. And like I'd go int treads, do Chrono and Mask of Madness, and then probably switch to agility if it's like everyone's in the Chrono or something like that, and then switch to strength towards the end. But aside from that, you want to be on strength treads when you're fighting, int treads when you're casting big spells, and then agility treads when they can't kill you or if you're just farming, because it will speed up your farm speed.
What about attacking tower right there? Should she just be on agility?
Yeah, it's basically like farming, in the sense that you're just attacking stuff and there's no like real chance of you dying.
Someone like Slarky, like, do they use int boots every time they do their Q? That's what I always wonder, because
it depends.
It uses mana, but it also kills you. So is it better to put on like int and then strength, or just keep on strength?
If you want to be really good with it, you can cast it on int and then switch to strength, and then after it's over, you switch to agility. But you also have this that heals you enough. So it's kind of like you could just like stay on agility treads and you wouldn't be hurt too much, but I think if you're spamming this off cooldown, the int treads helps you a lot if you're using it properly. So yeah, it's kind of like finding your own mix of how good you are with treads, and then also it's kind of like if you want to get better, that's one way that you can improve, is just perfecting your tread switching, which will make you like play like shit in a couple of your games, but when you get it down muscle memory, it's something like for your first 10 games, you're a lot more likely to lose the first 8 games that you're like try-harding with tread switching, and then your last 2 games are about 50-50, and then all of your games from that point out are like 52% win rate, or 2% higher win rate than what you started with. So you can either go for, I'm going to just tread switch perfectly, or that's a feels bad. You can either go, I'm going to tread switch perfectly no matter what, or you can find like what your balance is and go from there.
Yeah. Like in general, I'm always thinking about it, but some games I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to leave it on agility the whole time because I just want to fight, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty important to have it on strength treads when you're fighting. Like if you want to be like lazy with it, or like not think about it too much, I'd say
Yeah.
agility treads when you're farming and strength treads when you're fighting. And then
Okay.
if you're a hero with
Because
bigger
I think I have a
spells,
mindset. I have like a mindset that like offense is my best defense. You know, so like,
yeah,
what if I killed him faster with agility? That could have.
yeah,
And
it's
I had
just
strength on. Maybe I wouldn't have killed him faster. So,
yeah, it's mostly just kind of like the agility doesn't like do as much as the strength does, and
see.
usually,
And I already have like other instances of agility because I'm building a agility hero. So.
yeah.
I see what you mean.
But it's kind of like
Well,
I guess I played like some League too. I think like 5 or 6 years ago I had like 1,000 games played, and I think League is a lot more. If you have more damage, you can kill someone quicker than Dota is, and I think that's a pitfall that you have to dig yourself out of.
yeah,
Um,
I learned a lot of bad habits from that. I mean, that was like I used to play that about like 6 years ago, so I'm getting out of the habits.
Yeah.
But like when I first started playing, I could totally tell I was in League habits.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thing with Dota is a lot of the times you wait until you get BKB to push high ground. And this thing like doesn't give you shit for offensive ability, but because you're magic immune, you can use your defense to be more aggressive.
Right, yeah.
And
As long as I stay alive longer.
yeah, exactly. And if you're BKB'd attacking their tower, they can't really stop you from doing that unless they play very aggressively, and then you can just kill them and take the tower. So
I actually had like a Bloodseeker game. The last Bloodseeker game I played, I was pretty proud of myself because I did that exact same concept. Like I built a lot tankier than I usually do, and it really helped out. And I survived longer and killed more people.
yeah. And then there's
now I'm realizing.
with like talents and shit now, like right now you're building like kind of glass cannon,
Right.
where you have the
I
agility
think
from
that's because I had such a good early game. I was like, wait a second. Or maybe I thought I had a good early game, but I really didn't.
well, it's like this build isn't bad, but it's just kind of like when you have all of this damage, you don't really need more damage. So it's like if you're just on this strength treads, that's like enough to keep you alive.
Right.
But yeah, I think this replay is kind of like spent for what we can talk about from it. Did you have another one you wanted to go over?
Yeah, maybe like a support one.
Sure.
Right, let me see my games. Okay, I've been doing really good at Bane recently, actually, but I think that Bane game I was playing with like a couple of people who suck. I click on it for a second.
Sure.
Let's see what that was. Yeah, we were 5 stacking with really bad people. And that Death Prophet was amazing, so I don't know if
Who's
I want
this fucking
game.
guy?
That's the guy who...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Do you not want to go over this one then?
Yeah, not that one. That was just a mess anyways.
Yeah.
Let me see what else. Sorry, Ricky Bane. Keep going down. Had a fun IO game. He's so hard to play. Bounding up turn 9 stuff. Look like that Pudge game.
The winner or the loss?
Oh wait, no, the last one. Yeah, some Pudges are like off and on for me. Let's see. Oh, I think I lost a lot of those. Yeah, maybe this one.
Yeah, there's something that I can already point out with it is you want to be going Earn with this guy.
Oh, right, because I just read that Reddit post how good Earn is on Oracle.
Well, I still like it better on Pudge than the Oracle. But
Is it better to have, like, because I told him to actually build Earn, so is it, I thought it's not good to have 2 different people with Earns on the same team.
Yeah, you don't want 2 people to have it, but I'd still kind of like prefer it on you than on the Oracle, just because of like the stats and the nature of your hero being around a lot of kills.
Yeah.
like the 2 armor does a lot for you. It doesn't do shit for the Oracle because you have like 1500 health and like 3 armor. The Oracle has like 700 health and he sits in the back and he has like 2 armor. It's really good with this guy's ult, but like meh. And Pudge doesn't really. It's the best solution to mana problems as a position 4. So like for where is it? If we look at the gold cost in the mana regen, and then the gold cost in the mana regen, for 25 more gold, you get 2 ult stats, 2 armor, and the whole active of Urn. And then also with
I don't know why I just thought the other item was so much better, the Void Stone for mana regen, but it's actually exactly the same.
Well, it used to be better because it used to be percent, so Void Stone would give you 100% mana regen, and then they switched it all over to like 0.5 mana regen is basically 50%. And when they made that shift, they didn't really touch Urn. So it was like when they made that shift, it was a huge buff to Urn, and they like nerfed all of the other things kind of. But yeah, this thing's ridiculous for mana regen now. And then I also really like it because of your. I'm gonna kind of like talk about it like you don't have an Oracle because that does complicate things, but. So the thing with Pudge is he's really good at getting kills and doing shit like that, but he's horrible at pushing. So if you have an Urn, you can take a fight, and then let's say you guys take a 5-on-5, you kill all of them except for like the Lion, and all of your team dies except for you and your like Pangolier, I guess, because Alchemist has his own regen. If he drops down to like 300 health and the Lion's still alive with Finger, he can't really push anymore because he can just like die from fog from the Lion. But by you having this sub 1000 gold item that also solves your mana problems, you can just earn this guy, and then he's got enough health now to push, so you get all of the experience and net worth of this hero pushing while their whole team is dead, essentially, just because you have this one small item. And that's a problem with Pudge, is he can win team fights, but he can't do shit to towers afterwards. And I don't like your build. The build that you want to be going is Boots and Tangos. And
I've been wondering, why is Boots is good now because his rot does less slow. Yeah. Or is it always good? I mean, is it basically just for rot?
You want it. Every position 4 either wants Boots or Orb of Venom in their starting item.
I got that the next game because I watched a video that someone got that.
Well, the Orb of Venom is basically for heroes that can get on top of enemies. So like a Bounty Hunter, a Ricky, an Earth Spirit, a Spirit Breaker. These guys all have ways to instantly get on top of somebody. And then usually when you're ganking someone, you're ganking them at an advantage. So like the best example is mid. You're ganking, and when you gank, it's a 2v1. And Orb of Venom's really strong in that because it's kind of like, it's half the cost of Boots, but it's effectively, most heroes are around 300 movement speed without Boots, and then 350 with Boots. And this is kind of like, it slows as much as Boots speed somebody up, almost, for half of the cost. But when it's a 2v1, not only are you, you're kind of like, it's basically like you're giving your hero and your mid hero Boots by hitting the guy with Orb of Venom, based off of the movement speed difference that you create. So it's kind of like when you hit the guy, you create 1,000 gold worth of movement speed on your 2 heroes. Does that make sense? But if you
1,000 gold,
you have a pair of Boots. It's kind of like if you gank mid lane and if you hit the enemy with Orb of Venom, it's the same as the movement speed difference between the whole
Yeah.
situation is the same as you guys both having boots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So
Just making theirs less, so yours seems more, basically.
yeah, essentially.
Well, that's
Um,
but it is yours. Like your base movement speed is just way more because theirs is less now.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the percentage difference between the movement speed is like close enough.
I think I was doing this build because like I've been having problems with like being not that tanky in the beginning and kind of dying, so I just had like a little bit more success like this because I was a lot tankier when I'm routing.
I mean, it's kind of like just choose your fights better is the quick of it.
I see.
Like this, you could make an argument for starting with like 3 salves and 2 sets of tangos, and just running at people, but or you could just like get boots and take half as much damage. You're not gonna like have as much effective health at the start of the game, but when you eat down all of your tangos and shit, you're not gonna have anything left. Where if you have your boots, you're gonna keep your boots the whole time.
Right.
And then with the build that you should be doing now is getting your boots, your tangos, and then you start with 80 gold from the bounty runes, put a clarity on the courier, and then when the mid lane uses the courier to bring out like whatever they're gonna bring out, you can then bring the courier like to wherever you are.
I see.
Because you're not going to need mana until you're level 2. You can't even use mana until level 2 usually.
Right.
So you're not going to run out of mana until a good bit after level 2, so you have time before you need the clarity. And Boots and Tangos just kind of like... not only is it good for engagements themselves, but it cuts down a lot of the time that it takes for you to go from one lane to another.
Right, that's a good point.
And that's another thing with Boots over Orb of Venom. Orb of Venom doesn't make you run from one lane to another any quicker.
Right.
So like here, you start with, if you got your boots first, this is, what is this, 200, 300 gold. You'd almost have your windlace by now. You'd be 100 gold off of your windlace.
Right.
And then when you have your windlace, like Pudge is pretty tanky if he's full health. And if you get your tranquils early, you're always going to be full health.
Okay.
So tranquils, it doesn't actually give you any stats, like really, but it does give you like constant full health, which is if you have plus 1,000,000 health, but you're missing 99% of it, it's not like that important.
Right.
And also, if you go tranquils, it helps you go from one lane to another really quickly. I actually have I have 2 videos on position 4 that I could send you. Basically talks about what you want to be thinking about as a position 4.
Like a roamer specifically, or
Yeah.
position? Is position 4 just roaming, or is it?
Yeah, position 4 is right now it's basically roaming, mostly, but it's kind of like the definition of it is really just the person that's a support that gets more stuff than the other support is the like quick of it. I'll find those after this, but it
Yeah, like 5 is like mostly wards, and 4 does like in between.
4 is kind of like your jungler, your roamer, your second babysitter or whatever. It's more of a flexible.
And no rune XP is like really screwing up that.
Yeah, it's kind of, but at the same time you also get the tome. That gives you 200 more experience, so it's not.
The mid doesn't get it.
Well, the mid shouldn't get it. Like that's not. It should.
Usually I'm usually just looking for it constantly now.
Yeah, it's kind of my thought process is usually at like 6, 7, 8 minutes ish. I look at what my experience is, and then I'm like starting to think, am I going to be able to hit level 6 with the tome at 10 minutes? And if the answer is no, then I'm going to start prioritizing getting experience more, which might mean staying in a lane more than running around from lane to lane to lane, or something like that. Some games you can just like sacrifice your experience for the enemy offlaner's experience directly, and
Yeah.
if it's like 7 minutes and you're level 3, you might want to think about getting a little bit more experience.
I'm stuck between like, should I stay with my offlaner right now and then just soak all his XP, or should I give him the solo XP and then start roaming?
Let me go back to the start real quick.
Wait, how'd you put your mode in that mode?
What?
Is it only for spectator mode? Like I saw.
That's if you go back on the replay to the very start. And yeah, that's spectator only. I think what you could have done, is probably starting top would have been better. Because what you can often do as a position forward is, if you start top, unless they dual lane, which like the higher up you go, the more rare it is. If you start top, you and the Oracle will be able to zone out any one hero on their team. And then after a few minutes, the offlaner is going to be so crippled that your Oracle alone can basically zone out him. And then eventually, the offlaner is going to be so crippled that your Alchemist alone can zone out the offlaner. So if you spend your first like minute or minute and a half top, you can usually win the lane very hard, and then roam around with your level 2 that you got from top lane. This guy will be level 1 for a while. Your Oracle will deal with him until this is like you might not run into this a lot because your position 5 won't like identify, and your carry won't identify that the carry's strong enough to do it on his own, but it's like you can at least set it up. If you do this, then at like 5 or 6 minutes, your Alchemist will be soloing their offlaner, and then you're gonna have a beefy Oracle and a beefy Pudge running around winning your other 2 lanes when this lane's already won, which puts you in a really good spot to win the game. And I usually like starting top or in the safe lane now. I used to prefer mid, but they recently moved up the towers. Like the old tower was right here and right here, which gave you more room right here, and it basically cut down the range that you can zone this guy by like 200, because you could block the creeps and have them like here, which would mean you have like this much extra range to zone out this guy, but you don't really have that now, so it's harder to go mid. And you can only really go mid if you're like kind of strong and it's pushed up onto your hill. So mid's kind of hard to gank, and then your mid laner is going to be pretty weak, so he can't really help either. And then usually the creep wave's going to end up like here in the off lane, so it's kind of like also hard to gank this guy, and he's probably going to have support. He doesn't this game, but like you can't really do anything.
Is there like a rule of thumb of who to like hook in the very beginning? Because I noticed like, so Slark has an escape and like Sand King has an escape, so should I be only focusing Lion or just focus everyone who's...
The thought process of the videos that I was going to link you kind of like works for it, but I can kind of like distill it down into a quick little thing. It's basically you want to think about what needs to be done this game. And basically for you guys to be doing well, you kind of want to shut down the LC so she doesn't snowball really hard. Shut down the Slark a little bit, and then don't let the Death Prophet get like free towers. And that's kind of like what needs to be done. And then your Alchemist getting farm is the other thing that needs to happen. And then from there, you identify what you can actually do. So you can't actually do anything to the Slark right now because the creep wave's pushed all the way up here. And you can't really do anything to Sand King and LC. You can look for the LC, but she has better base stats, and this is a better dueling ability than Rot. So unless you see her with like half health, you can't really do much to her. But you can definitely go look for her at like 3 minutes. So the only thing that you can like actually do is like go win top lane. And then the third thing that you want to do is, what does the game look like in the late game if you have done what you did? And this is more for like figuring out between two closer things. Like I had a game where they had a Tinker and a Spectre, and those were the win conditions on the enemy team. And I could gank both, and I could like keep killing them over and over and over. But what I ended up doing was I went mid on the Tinker because I thought about what would happen in the mid to late game if I go on the Spectre. The Tinker's going to get his bots, he's going to get his blink, he's going to delay the game enough that the Spectre's going to get back ahead anyways. So if I shut down the Tinker, the Spectre, even if he does have a great game, he's not going to be really doing anything until 25 minutes. So by thinking about what the late game's going to look like, I realized that Tinker was, even though they're like about the same priority, if I deal with the Tinker, it will also deal with the Spectre. But if I deal with the Spectre, it doesn't really deal with the Tinker at all. So with all of that in mind, you can't do shit bottom, you can't really do much mid, and you don't really even want to anyways, because like, who really cares about a Silencer or a Sand King? The only thing you really care about is your Alchemist getting ahead, and it's something that you can actually do. So you would want to start top here.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I think I don't really think about the game as much as I should be.
That's
get in there and
that's something that I like.
My lane, but I see what you mean.
It's something that I had to figure out for myself, because like position 4 is the least clear-cut position in the game. Because position 1 through 3, it's kind of like do as much as you can in your lane. Position 5 is like most of the time just help your position 1 do the best that they can. And then position 4 is like, fuck off and stop stealing my farm and my experience and shit, but also don't be useless.
Yeah, I really like the idea of position 4. I feel like I've been struggling lately because the XP factor. Like the runes don't give XP. But,
I don't think it's that big
and
of a deal.
I like sort of like high skill characters, you know. I used to play Earth Spirit a lot because I really like how like hard he was.
Yeah.
You know, once I'd get a really good stun and stuff, I would feel like more accomplished, you know. But I think that styling is, you know, gets you in trouble a lot because I feed too much doing a lot of shit like that.
Gotcha. But yeah, you're coming to this lane now, and this guy's already level 3. This guy's level 2. So it's a lot harder to gank this lane than it was at level 1. Because you're not much stronger. Even if you do have Hulk here, it's like still meh. Like this guy gets twice as much disable at level 2. This guy gets a AoE nuke and or a lifesteal at level 2, and all you get is like 90 pure damage that kind of like moves them closer to you. And then your Oracle, like, he also gets like this, but he can only really cast that if he's going to cast this after, so it's like he doesn't get much stronger either. And that's kind of like how a lot of offlaners work. They get a lot stronger at level 2 or 3 than they are at level 1. And position 4s kind of do that too, but and these guys are more reliably going to get more levels if you don't do anything about it. So it's easier to shut somebody down earlier in the offlane than it is later. So if you, let's say you started here at the beginning of this game, maybe this guy's like barely level 2 and this guy's barely level 2. And they don't have, like this, she has 1100 gold, which like she should have spent it by now, but like this Death Prophet should have like boots and like a stick or something right now.
Weird.
Yeah, and then she'd be so much harder to kill if she has her level 3 and spent her gold and all of that, than if she's level 1 and she has like some tangos and whatever stupid shit. but you're probably gonna come here and like feed. Like they could have just killed you there actually, especially with your Oracle having no health and no regen.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of like out of resources and shit now. But yeah. So I think it's really just like start going through that thought process when you're playing position 4, and that'll help you a lot. But yeah, do you have any other questions or anything? Because I think that's kind of like the main thing for this replay.
Let's see. Yeah, I think I just have to start thinking about the game as a whole and like who to focus and where I should be.
Yeah. It's a lot. I remember League. It's a lot of unless you're the jungler, it's really just win your lane and don't care about the other lane until you start team fighting at like I don't fucking remember, like 20 minutes.
So another thing in League is when I was playing a support or just anyone in lane, I would be like super aggressive, and it always pays off because the creeps don't like aggro you, nothing like that, you know. So like it's just so much.
Another thing that's probably really important to like let you know is early kills don't matter for shit.
Early.
Yeah.
I thought that's like the only thing that matters, Pudge.
It's like doing things early is good, but early kills doesn't matter that much, I guess. It's hard to just
because it gives you less money, or what do you mean?
It's less gold, it's less experience, and the respawn timer's less than it used to be, and heroes start with TP scrolls. So what happens now a lot, this is like it's more important for the safe laner to know this, but it can be applied everywhere. If you're the safe laner and you go for a kill, like let's say you're this alchemist and you guys end up killing this death prophet, when this death prophet's like level 2, what's going to happen is you're going to aggro these creeps, probably throw out an AoE nuke. These creeps will die off, and then by the time that this death prophet is back and teleported in, she'll have teleported for free. If she bought out, she doesn't really lose any gold. She comes back to the lane with full health, full mana, and a creep wave under her tower, and she's only been dead for like 5 or 6 seconds. Whereas in previous patches, you'd get more gold, they'd be dead longer, they wouldn't have a TP scroll and all of this shit. So right now, early kills don't matter too much. But like I guess as a position 4, it's like more of when you go for a kill as a position 4, it doesn't really fuck with the equilibrium a lot. And that's one of like your only tools when you go to a lane, unless you can just body out the enemy hero. But as like a laner, you can usually, like if you get them low and they don't have regen, then they're kind of like under their tower at 20% health, and then they have to walk all the way back, which oftentimes can be worse than actually killing them.
But what would you say is the best way for me to continually get XP as a Pudge right now in this early game?
I think zoning out this guy would have done a lot, and it's I don't really usually think about experience until like 6, 7, 8 minutes. It's kind of like if you're just doing things correctly, you'll run into experience. And then also, it doesn't matter if you're level 6 by 10 minutes. If the whole enemy team is level 1 at 10 minutes. Does that make sense? So like
they're less.
Yeah, it's not that you want to be. It kind of is, but it's kind of not. If you're level 5 and they're level 3, your level 5 is good, even if that's at 30 minutes in the game. So it's. I look at the level 10 or the 10-minute thing, and I try and hit level 6 by that just because. It's a good thing to like shoot for. But if I've been completely zoning out the enemy offlaner and we're both level 3 at 8 minutes, then I didn't do a bad job. I had a game where I was clockwork against a Timbersaw, and we had a dual offlane, they had a dual offlane, and then we had some safe laner, and then I was a clockwork against their Timbersaw, and I completely bodied out the Timbersaw, and we were both level 3 at literally 8 minutes. And I won us the game single-handedly based off of that, because a Clockwork that's level 3 can still come back into the game at like 10 or 15 minutes, but a Timbersaw that's level 3 at 8 minutes is basically out of the game. So it's what you are relative to the enemies, which is very important as a position 4, because you can directly sacrifice your own things to shut down the enemy. And then it's like, and then it's also like you'll be level 3 and they'll be level 3 at 8 minutes, but your carry will be level like 8. So if you just leave the lane, then this lane is won.
Sort of sacrifice for the good of the whole.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's not even a sacrifice because they're going to be just as weak, but your team is going to be stronger. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So do you have any other questions or anything?
What else? About this game or just anything?
Anything, really.
It's hard to like come up with stuff.
Yeah, I got you. It's kind of on the
because
spot.
I know there's just so many things I need to work on. But is there any tips on like staying calm in like a huge team fight? Because I tend to like sort of panic and just throw out my shit and like not really look at all the other characters.
The best thing that you can do about that is identifying what's probably going to happen and what you're probably going to need to do before the situation arises. So in this game, what I would want you to be watching for in your team fights, the biggest things that you can do are cancel the Sand King's ult, whether that's like hooking him or whatever, or even if you get an Urn of Shadows and throw it on the Sand King, when he's ulting, you'll break his Blink Dagger with it. So he'll just ult in, let's say you're pushing high ground, he's ulting right here, your whole team's right here, you just throw a fucking Urn on him, and he'll be like ulting like nothing over here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then also the LC has a blink, so if you can cancel that. And then the other things that you want to be doing are possibly breaking a Spirit Siphon, or if she duels, you can hook either her or your teammate, and like if the duel's happening right here and you hook all the way over here, then the duel's going to end up here like a second later, so your hook can like pseudo disable the and then the other things that you want to be watching for are if you can stack a disable onto this guy. Like you don't really want to start the disables on this guy, because if you ult him and then he just dark packs, then you're in a shit position. But like if you get a stun off and then you can also follow that up with your ult, that does a lot. So it's kind of like what you want to be doing in this game is probably, it also depends on like how the snowballs go and all of that. Like the build that I would go if I were you would be Tranquils, Urn, probably a Blink Dagger next, and then you can start picking off this guy if you Blink Dismember him, and then like follow it up and shit. So it's kind of like
can't get Darth back off.
Yeah. Basically think about what the fight's going to look like, what you can do about it, and then process that before the fight starts. So all you have to do when it does start is act things out instead of figuring them out.
Yeah, I've been noticing you like spamming Clockwork a lot. I feel like he's kind of OP right now.
The main thing with that is I have to first pick all the time.
I see.
So I tend to very heavily disagree with people that spam one hero, which is very hypocritical, but I don't see it as me spamming this guy. I see it as I see the same information every single game. At least
you're not spamming Invoker or something, you know.
Yeah,
it's Clockwork no one really cares about, I think.
Yeah, it's basically I'm first, second, or third pick every single game. And first and second pick, like in this game I was third pick, but what was first and second pick? A Disruptor and a Rubik. What the fuck am I going to do with that information? Right. And then if I'm first pick, I see literally nothing. Clockwork and Night Stalker are the only two heroes right now that, as a position 4, they can pick anything and I will feel comfortable playing that game. Whereas if I pick a Pudge first pick, and then they pick Quap, AM, Pangolier, for the first 15 minutes, I'll be like landing hooks and shit, and they'll just blink away.
Right.
So Clockwork and Night Stalker are basically like Clockwork. He's tanky enough that he can zone out a lot of people. His battery assault is kind of like a rot.
Yeah, he's like so tanky, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Does he have a high strength?
He has decent strength. He has decent armor. And then he has a mini stun which stops a lot of attacks.
Right.
And this is kind of like rot, but it doesn't also hurt yourself. He's pretty strong.
Such
and then
a
you can
good
always
initiator too.
Yeah, and then you can always cogs creep waves to block them to pull him back if you can't do literally anything else. But he's pretty strong, and he's like Pudge has probably around the same health, but he has less armor, and Pudge's ability hurts himself, whereas this guy's hurts the enemy, slows them down, and cancels their attack swings and shit like that.
He's kind of like opposite of Pudge. Like he goes to fight them rather than bring the hook.
Yeah.
The hook brings it to him. So.
Yeah, and then also, no matter how far behind, if you get like a 4-staff, you can always hook, and then cogs, and then 4-staff out. So he doesn't have to get kills to stay relevant like Pudge does. And then Night Stalker, those heroes that I was talking about before, their hero stats aren't that great. It's that they have a spell that allows them to get away. Like a Quap and an AM, their base stats are kind of shit. AM has very low health, and Quap has very low health. So when you can silence them for 5 seconds, they're like sitting ducks, basically.
Right.
So that's I pick Clockwork all the time, but I don't see myself as like a clock spammer because I basically see it as I'm picking the perfect hero for the situation, and the situation's always the same because I always have to be first or second pick. Whereas if position 4 was last pick, you'd see my feed being shit like Pudge, Sand King, Slardar, Spirit Breaker, Clockwork, Night Stalker, all this different shit. But
did you just gain like 1,000 MMR over the past couple days?
Well, I've been playing very spaced out. Like I haven't. This is the beginning of the year. I haven't been playing too much, but
so you're 249 in North America right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my.
Did you just get that? Because like a couple of days ago, it didn't seem like you had that.
Some weird shit happened where I think it came out with Dota Plus where it took away this for a second or two.
And you had a heart attack.
Yeah, I thought it was because the old leaderboard, the top 200, it was something like you had to play X amount of games in X amount of days, and I figured it was because I didn't, but like I got my shit back, so I don't know. And I tried to play games earlier today, and the first one like somebody abandoned, and then the second one like we had a random 5th pick that makes you abandon, and I was like, alright, I'll take that as a sign that I shouldn't be queuing right now. But everyone in those games was like, it was saying like uncalibrated and shit, so I think it was just a bug. But yeah, so did you come up with any questions or anything, or?
Let's see, how long has it been?
It's been like an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know it was over.
No, you're good.
I was gonna ask. Okay, what do you think like the difference between you and like a pro player like Miracle is? Like, what's the learning cap between 6 and 8K?
I think a lot of it is like I think it's attainable. Like I definitely could see myself. I could see like anyone really becoming like the best in the world at the game. It's a lot of just like experience and time spent and correct thinking and shit. I think a lot of what Dota is just identifying the habits that you need to have and then building those. Like
just doing the best you can in each situation given.
Yeah. Like the thing that I described as position 4, that was a habit that I identified, and then I had to spend 50 to 100 games, and I'm like still I don't have it perfect because it's a pretty complicated habit, the thinking about what lane to go to. That I had to identify that myself because I'm at the higher end of the the thing, so it's not like I have like people above me making a ton of guides and shit.
Right.
So I'm at the point where a lot of my improvement is going to be identifying habits that separate me from someone better. That if it was public knowledge, everyone would be at this MMR. I guess so. It's really just like, I think Dota is. When I was like 4K, I thought 6Ks were like literally geniuses or some shit like that, and I don't think it's that at all. I think it's really just you grind out something so much that it becomes second nature. Like map awareness for me isn't me just like fucking gluing my eyes on the map. It's just kind of like, at this point, I value it so much that like I'll see a face pop up instead of like, I don't have to look at the map to be aware. I'll just peripherally notice that a face popped up or something on the minimap, and that's just because I've built in the habit so much that just kind of happens.
Why is that Lifestealer's icon so different? I've never seen that one.
It's because he's top.
That's 5.
He's top 10. I think it's kind of new.
Oh, I see. I think they just changed that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just building habits and then making it so like right now, if you go into a game and you implement the whole position 4 thing that I talked about, it's going to be like, you're gonna suck at everything else while you're doing it, and then the next game you're still gonna suck at everything else when you do it. But 20 games from now, you're going to be like, oh hey, I don't actually feel lost in my games now. And then in 100 games, it'll be second nature, and then you can move on to something else. Or it's one of the more complicated ones, so it'll probably be more than 100 games, but you know what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. Just more experience, you just get used to it.
Yeah.
Just become second nature.
But yeah, so hopefully that helped. I'll try and get that video up in a bit, and then I'll send you the link.
That's definitely helpful, thanks.